Hey heroes, cosplayers, and pop culture fans, are you ready to assemble for the ultimate geek weekend? The Hall of Heroes Comic-Con is invading Elkhart, Indiana with 2 explosive days of comics, stars, and non-stop fun. Join us Saturday, May 30th and Sunday, May 31st, 2026 at the Northern Indiana Event Center in Elkhart. Doors open at 10 a.m. both days. VIP early entry at 9:30 a.m. on Saturday. We're rolling out a massive lineup of legends. Meet Eric Estrada from Chips and Fallout, Dirk Benedict from the A-Team and Battlestar Galactica, Tara Reid from American Pie and Sharknado, Catherine Cavadini, voice of Blossom from the Powerpuff Girls, Kel Mitchell from All That, Kevin and Kel and Mystery Men, horror icon Tony Moran, the original Michael Myers in Halloween, and more. Plus, top comic artists including Arthur Sidem, Marvel Zombies and Deadpool, John Kramer from Batman and Wonder Woman, Keith Pollard, a legendary Marvel artist on Spider-Man and Thor, and more. Scott Rosama, Stuart Sager, and others. Get autographs, photo ops, and chats with the stars and creators who shaped your favorites. The floor is packed with over 150 vendors, artists, and cosplayers offering exclusive comics, collectibles, original art, and merch. Enjoy cosplay contests for kids and adults with great prizes, live Q&A panels, artist showcases, interactive zones, and family-friendly fun all weekend. And the excitement goes live. Madness Entertainment Group is broadcasting straight from the con floor all weekend on YouTube, Build, and Rumble. Catch every moment as it happens, then relive it anytime with the full shows available later on Med TV on Roku. Grab your tickets today at hohcomiccon.org. Hall of Heroes Comic-Con, May 30th and 31st, 2026. Northern Indiana Event Center, Elkhart, Indiana. We'll see you there, heroes. This ad was created by Nim on behalf of Madness Entertainment Group and Hall of Heroes Comic-Con.
There we are. Yeah.
Oh, Tim. Tim is muted or something. But I think what Tim was saying is, welcome, Internet.
I think a cat broke my actual desk mic, so I'll need to get that figured out.
Cat ate your desk mic?
Well, I have an actual desk mic, but it probably got knocked over at some point. I think cat may have done something to it. Anyway.
Haven't heard that since the dog ate my homework.
Right. Hey, welcome back to the show on Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim DK, joined as always by Jose Fuentes.
Hello, everybody.
And Ron Fortier.
Howdy, all.
And we have a sponsored segment at the front there for Hall of Heroes Comic-Con. I mean, if you can get Kel Mitchell on the Tuesday show, that'd be great.
So, Hall of Heroes, like Elkhart, Indiana. I'm from Elkhart, Indiana.
Nice.
Are you really?
I am.
Okay.
Hall of Heroes came after I had already moved away.
Oh, okay.
What did you wait till you left?
I really think so. I think they did.
Yes.
But Hall of Heroes started off as like it was actually a guy's comic company. I think it was and Pops, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was Alan Stewart, right? Nope, Alan Scott. One of the two. Anyway, I met him a long time ago, and it was his own comic company. And then he evolved that into a comic book museum, Hall of Heroes, and he actually had like a big warehouse garage thingy. The front facade was made to look like the Hall of Heroes from Super Friends.
Nice.
Whoa,
Yeah.
nice. Hey, Dave.
And also joined by David Rios.
Hey. Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Yes.
This guy.
I still got my crown.
There you go.
That's right.
We just finished our tacos that we ordered.
Okay,
because we did. Like
Yeah.
straight up, we
This
had
is
today.
this is a classic reference. I'm not sure who'll get it, but if he's Pancho, then am I Cisco?
Now they're building an actual Hall of Heroes. That's pretty cool.
Nice.
Pancho and Cisco. There you go.
Right.
Oh, Pancho. Oh, Cisco.
Cisco. Oh, man, are we dating ourselves? Used to watch that every Saturday morning.
I think there were two versions of it.
Go
Like they remade that with who was it? The guy that played the Alderaan senator,
Jimmy Smith.
Jimmy Smith.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great
We
character.
were talking earlier about how it's serendipitous that we have Cinco de Mayo on Taco Tuesday. So
I saw a meme that said, "This is what we've been waiting for, people."
there you go.
Oh,
All right.
Speaking about Del Taco, I was over there in line with some people. They were talking about, I guess, when it first came out, it wasn't Del Taco. It was like Moogie or something like that. They had a completely different name before it was Del Taco.
Nice. Anyway, a friend of the show and recurring sponsor Del Taco.
Right. Someday.
Yeah, someday. But yes, tonight we're going to be talking about panel layouts, the art of making comics flow, and what really sets the medium apart from other visual media and make it unique as how panels flow. So we get into that, but we'd be remiss to not mention that as of 2 hours ago, the pre-order window for Beyond the Stars #5 has closed. It had hit 102% of the funding goal. So, like we said, the story is already complete. So, if you placed your order, you're not you shouldn't have to wait too long for those to arrive in your mailbox. And if you did not get a chance to pre-order, make sure to follow our website and be on the lookouts for future fundings, because you can always add back issues, or also wait for those things to hit our digital storefront on Global Comics.
Right.
Yeah.
definitely. And hey, would be remiss if I didn't say thank you to everybody who, supported it and helped it cross the finish line. Most appreciative of that. I know the artist Andrea Bermuda is. He dropped me an email this afternoon with a big thumbs up on that. And he, like I had said earlier during the entire campaign, Andrea's almost finished the final issue #6. And with fingers crossed, we'll get that all colored and lettered up. And maybe by the end of the year, sometimes in the winter, we'll get that up there and out. And you'll have all 6 issues. There you go.
That's wild.
That is, yeah. I mean, I'm guessing as a single story miniseries, it will probably be the longest that Silverline has put out since its inception. By that, I'm not talking about reprints of the old Cat and Mouse, those kind of things.
Mhm.
But I don't know of another series that went beyond, 3 or 4 issues.
Yeah, I think Brett's first K-list, I think it was 4 or 5, but ended up continuing into a second series.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
There you
I'm
go.
pretty sure it was 4.
Yeah. It's looking at
All right.
4.
Tim's working on his 47 episode opus.
Yeah. And then
47 issue storyline.
no, I wish. No, but we have officially hired on the artist for Wolf Hunter #3, and we're getting art back. So we're working with Mr. Honor out of Indonesia. And we're gonna get some art back and stuff looking really great. So we'll have stuff for
That's
that.
awesome. Way to go, Tim. All right. Too cool.
Yeah, and my long one is going to be, I think about 5, and that's currently being worked on with Alex Gallimore. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, we're going to be talking about panel flow. So this is going to be interesting because we have 2 writers and 2 artists, and the flow of the panels is something that is truly the making of the collaborative effort. And depending on your scripting style as an artist, you're either, if you're doing Marvel style, you're doing a summary, right? But if you're doing full script, you're dictating the amount of panels and writing each action. But even if you're doing Marvel style, you need to be able to visualize how the page will look. Otherwise, your description is going to be either insufficient and the artist has to kind of come up with page space, or you're going to be way too many actions happening and the artist is going to say, like, okay, either this is all going to be interstitials or I'm breaking this up across multiple pages. So either way, as a writer, you still need to understand how panels work. And as an artist, your job is to execute the story across panels in a way that is visually compelling and not only allows your art to breathe and be observed and enjoyed, but also serves the story and doesn't lose track of the plot or the action. So I'll open up the floor and I'll grab it's kind of a general round of if anyone has any thoughts on, I mean, we could get into how many panels should go on a page, but what are your general thoughts when it comes to panel layout? How do you like the non-traditional things where maybe it's thinner breaks, panels aren't necessarily as easily defined? Do you like more defined panels where it's very clearly like 4 blocks, 5 blocks, 6 blocks? Does anyone have any general thoughts on panels before we get into kind of our usual?
I am always taken with how really good artists, okay, read a script, read a page composition, all right, and then almost like a photographer on a film set, just basically go, okay, this is what's going to flow. This is how I'm going to set up the panels. This is the composition I'm going to use, all geared to having the reader's eye follow the action and just go smoothly from one panel to the next panel to the next panel to the next panel. I know as a writer, I have never ever tried to step into that field. I mean, my thought in my scripts is basically to write, panel 1, this is the action that happens. Panel 2, this is the action that happens. Panel 3, this is the action. I do my best not to try to set up like point of views or whatever, because again, that's tapping into this creative storytelling that artists have, that great graphic artists have. And let me tell you, I've met 1 or 2 professional commercial artists who can't do that, who try to draw comic pages and ultimately are so fixed on the mechanics of drawing a good picture that what you end up with is a page with a block of pictures that are all static, all right? Because that particular artist wasn't a comic book person, didn't grow up with comics, didn't understand what happens when you draw to flow, all right? When you draw to the story, all right? And again, most of the times I leave it to my artist to basically read my bare bones script for what that page needs and then just tap into their talents to make it something that works with the script. And, I sent in to you guys a couple of samples of this, and one of them, I think, addresses that almost directly, in that I wrote a short 8-page Brother Bones story that was going to be has been put in the back of the first Brother Bones chapter that we recently did a Kickstarter on and got out there to the fans. And the concept of the story was that a bunch of gangsters are leaving an apartment building just as Brother Bones shows up. When they see him, they start shooting at him. He fires back. They go back into the building, run up a flight of stairs, end up on the roof where the final action takes place. What I'm putting here is 2 pages in the middle of that story, of that 8-pager, when I saw those pages come in, again, I do not give direction or, where the panels go, what they look like or whatever, simply the action I want to see on the panels. But here we go. Rob Davis is such a professional. Rob immediately got that, okay, well, you know what? I want to make the reader understand there is a motion to this story. And that motion is an upward. We're moving the entire story and the cast up a flight of stairs. And when he draws these pictures, his point of view continuously shifts and changes to get that feeling. It's almost like, like he does it subconsciously, being this really fantastic visual storyteller. And when I saw those pages, I mean, my jaw dropped. I said, wow. I mean, that lower left panel, the bottom, just that static shot of Bones walking up the stairs. It's brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic. Leading up to the last panel, which is him entering onto the roof. And then you get another couple pages of the action. I don't want to have spoilers because, hey, book's still available, folks. But this is part of what we're talking about here, the flow of the story, all right, and what it means to the reader. I mean, you'll read this thing, especially these 2 pages, and look at them, and within a blink of an eye, you've read both of them, and it's almost cinematic. You get that feeling of, again, this climbing story. I mean, again, if you were writing a story about a mountain climber, you would obviously expect your artist to fit or make panels that defines and gives you that feeling of height, of climbing and whatever. And that's a huge part of what makes a successful comic book story.
Yeah, I mean, and something that I really like here, and then it's actually similar to one of the examples that I pulled from my poll this last, that was actually a couple weeks ago. But when we get to like just this bottom third here, bottom half, the fact that we're almost treating this panel as if it's the entire page, everything's an interstitial on it, but we have this looking down where it's sitting in the back and everything's kind of building on top of it, like Ron said. When you cut immediately to one of the interstitials on there where it's now we're looking up, and even just in their perspective and the way it's formatted, you're building a sense of verticality. And I mean, it's something as simple as just, changing the camera angle from 45 degrees down to 45 degrees up, and then sitting one panel on top of the other. Yep. We've created a sense of movement and verticality that shows an understanding of the story as well as the art form.
Yep. And I don't know if that's something that could ever be taught. I'd like to believe that the best artists who can do that are most likely those who grew up as comic fans themselves. Because I think all of us here understand the fact that as comic fans, as being people who pretty much saturated ourselves with this media of storytelling, all right, we have been going to school ever since we started reading comic books as kids, whether we understood that or not. It's one of those things of enjoying the process, but then becoming, again, almost subconsciously aware of the process. I know myself as a writer, there's no way I can write a script without, the past, 48, 50 years of my life being a part of, the comic book reading. Thousands of comic books I've read all my life. And when you see artists who can draw like Rob does and capture all these subliminal things that make a comic book work, yeah, that's a lifelong experience. I mean, hey, Jose, what do you think? I mean, you went to, the Cooper School. Can you teach flow? I mean, how hard is that?
I mean, we're taught, that the camera's moving. And when you're doing paneling, narrative art, because it's what it is. It's narrative art, and there's a system to it. As my hat is in my way, as a of the flow, and I equate it to like chutes and ladders. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You're gonna you want your flow to go a specific way, right? That it's left to right, then down, left to right, down, left to right. What I really like about this page that Rob did was, if you notice, I'm a big fan of, you know, the 5 to 6 panel page. Okay, traditional. That's you know, the way things were done back in the day. You know, very traditional, very cool. Like I know, like Batwoman, the artist for Batwoman used to break up and have like real weird shaped panels here and there, and there's nothing wrong with that. It flowed with the story and the chaos of the story. If you notice, all these panels are not 90 degrees. The panel themselves are angled, showing that they're showing the use of that as an incline.
Exactly.
As well as like, you know, the looking down, the top view, the bottom view, the 45 degrees. But, you know, we're taught that the camera needs to move around a particular thing. The camera rotates, you know, ideally 360 degrees around the person, but you know, you want to keep it, I feel you want to keep it very much like theater, where you have that, you know, that front 180 and you use that, right? And but you can move all the way around. And that was something that I didn't quite know before I went to school. I didn't even piece that together with all the comics I've read. You know what I mean? Like, oh, and then after going back to comics, like afterwards, like I was like, oh, that the camera does move like that. Like I didn't even realize that. You don't even think in your brain, like when you're reading it, you just know that it flows when you like it. And this one, like I said, this panel definitely shows the motion of going, you know, working way up the stairs, right? And then if you go to the other page, when we're ready for that one, I got a comment on that one too. But if you notice, I get I get the sense of anxiousness, right? Not just because, you know, the bad guys are shooting; they seem chaotic in their panels. But Brother Bones is it almost reminds me of Pepe Le Pew. You know what I mean? From like the cartoon where like the cat is like, female cat is just running crazy to get away, and he's just like doing, like all like mellow and chill. That's right. But I get that effect from Brother Bones too. That he's just like, I'm going to get there and I'm going to get you, no matter how much.
There's absolutely no hurry.
Right.
In the panels that he's central in. Whereas it's the bad guys, you get the anxiety, all right, and that fear, and that you know, you can sense that frenetic, you know, energy happening in those panels. But then he purposely makes Bones look, just taking my time. I'm just.
See, that's the effect I get from is their panels, the gangster panels. If you notice, they're all angular. The light source on them is angular. The characters are chaotic and angular, but Brother Bones is straight on. Was it profile, and then from the back. But his are straight on, very, very organized panels compared to the chaos of them running up the stairs.
Yeah.
But that can be taught, but it can only be mastered through practice and you know, putting those techniques to use.
Yeah, I remember when I was working with Jeff Butler on the Green Hornet. We started working together, and Jeff was turning in some really, really beautiful pages, those first early issues. And I remember one night we were talking on the phone, and he was like anxious about, you know, what the fans would think of his artwork. And it came out that he had an issue with this concept. All right. He always felt like his panels were too static. All right. He was trying to achieve this. He understood what this was about, and he was always wrestling with himself to achieve it. But it always seemed like, you know, Ron, I wish I could make it flow better. I wish I could make it, you know, his heroes were people like Steve Ditko and Gil Kane, who could move, you know, anatomy and composition around. Jack Kirby, the whole, you know, strange panels that come alive. And Jeff understood that. But Jeff was more of a Wally Wood pretty artist, okay? And that's what he was giving us. And I had everything I could do to make him understand that his work was absolutely gorgeous and beautiful, and that as time went on, the more experience he would get, the more that other aspect would happen in his artwork. So here we go, right? I think we doing the book for about a year, and Jeff gets really sick and calls up the offices, talks to our editor, and says he might be late getting in the next issue unless he can have some help. And what he suggests to her, she went along with. Well, at this particular time, he was good friends with another artist named Mark Heike, who was working out of Florida with the studios down there, this independent company. And Mark was doing lots of artwork for them and was a good friend of Jeff's. So basically, Jeff had asked him if Mark could do the breakdowns and the roughs for that particular issue, get him back to Jeff, and Jeff would finish the artwork. Okay. Well, Mark was one of those instinctual action artists. What we're talking about, like Ditko and Kirby and whatever, right? So the pages he gets back to Jeff, even though they're just roughs and sometimes just stick figures, are already there. Jeff spends another week cleaning them up, making full pencils and inks. Well, David Mowry was our inker. The idea is that issue came out, and it was by far the weirdest Jeff Butler drawn Green Hornet issue we ever did. And, Jeff was like, oh, I wish I could draw like this all the time. Right? Again, it's a skill. And there are the artists who master it, most likely not go on to be the real masters of this art form.
Yeah. I think
someday I'll master it.
Of course you will. Hands down. Yeah. Totally.
I think also something comes into a lot, especially because, comics largely are an action medium, and that's not to say that, slice of life and other things don't have a place in them, because they absolutely do. You can tell any sort of story you want via comic, but the history of it and the genes of it are involved in some sort of action or other, whether that be capes and costumes or westerns or even like some really good mafia stories. And so I'll pop back here, Brother Bones, and I'll also show examples. But something that if longtime viewers or listeners will recognize is something that discussed years ago with Curtis and Dean Zachary. We did our segment on martial arts and comics, is the idea of pose and POW panels and how you can use that to understand. Being a martial artist yourself helps understand this thing, because what's the most important part of a punch? It's the guard and the impact. You don't care about the exertion or the snap back unless you are actually in a fight yourself. But if you're trying to score a fight, that's what you care about. And if you're trying to understand what's happening in a fight, that's what you care about. And you can also use that to get into like theming and tone and all that, where like the people who are most involved in POW issues are going to be people that are on the bad end of a fight, whereas the people who are most involved in pose issues are on the good end of the composed part of the fight, right? So I think what's really interesting here is we have a mix of pose and POW issues where, this or panels, like this is a pose panel, right? Very clearly just them strutting, them showing their guard, what have you. POW panel, over here, POW panel. So we know that the mobsters are the ones that are the mobsters are the ones that are in desperation mode. They're the ones where all the dynamic action is happening to them or around them. Brother Bones is chills a cucumber. He's posing the entire time because what's important is seeing that he is moving. He is going from composure and then triggering an event, a POW, to composure. When we get to when we think about Batman issues, we see is Batman always up in a guard or Batman in the shadows, and the bad guys are the ones that are getting the cross delivered across the face. When you don't need to see the hand extending from the shadows or the hand pointing back in, we just see going from the guard, the guy receiving the punch. So looking at something like Lost Fantasy, because I want to give some flowers to a newer independent story. But we have like a ton happening across these pages here. But what's happening there, all things are happening, is we see people either reacting or setting something up, and then a sword clashing. we see people reacting or setting them up, and then a sword clashing, or one dude getting just absolutely hammered by ninjas at the bottom there. But we don't need to see them, the ninjas. Oh, hello, Jose. We don't need to see all the ninjas moving around them and surrounding them. We don't need to see all this weird superfluous movement. We just see there are ninjas in a scene. There's a guy fist hitting the face. There's two guys with swords. The swords meet. They pull back into guards. And something like when you talk about writers who get too wordy, right? They get too in their own head and write too many things. The same can happen to an artist, and you can tell that there's a lot of amateur artists. A lot of their art shows the superfluous movement. They don't let that sit off the panel.
Well, I mean, just watching what you just showed, I think is a good segue. It leads into the action pages I sent you from the first issue of Gin and Tonic that I did with Cesar Feliciano. And before you put those up, Tim, let me just, the sequence was Daya is a Russian security guard with the Soviet Army, and she's at this conference with the KGB and these other big shot Soviets. And what's happened is a couple of Chechnya rebels, terrorists, have broken into the conference disguised as waiters. She ultimately figures it out and also understands that most likely they've come with bombs strapped around their bodies. So even if they're discovered, they're going to pull this suicide thing and kill 70% of the people in that conference room. So Daya has to work with that challenge that she faces, i.e. take out the terrorists with the bombs, but in a way that even when the bombs go off, will do minimal damage and maybe save the lives of the people in the conference room. So what she comes up with is one of her sergeants starts shooting at the terrorist. The terrorist turns his focus on the sergeant, allowing her to grab a chair, one of these little office-like chairs on coasters, and pick it up. And then before the terrorist realizes and turns his attention back on her, she literally throws the chair at him, hits him in the chest with it as he's detonating the bombs, and it knocks him through the window. They're like about 5 stories up in the air, and he blows up, but blows up going through the window. There's the explosion, the aftermath, and the dust settles and nobody's dead. She managed to save everybody. That's the sequence that I gave Cesar to illustrate. And if you want to pull up those 3 pages, we'll start with the first one. There she goes. There's the sergeant. There's Daya. She's picked up the chair just as he reveals the bombs and says, hey, that's it. I'm going to kill everybody. She throws the chair. It hits him and explodes. Here he is pressing the button. Chair hits him, and we get to the last page and the payoff. He explodes, but going out through the window. And then the aftermath in the conference room. And that is pretty much the way I envisioned it as I was writing it. And Cesar picked up on it. And I love the use of his panels. I love the use of his compositions. And it's, again, one of those action sequences where you pretty much go through those 3 pages, you know, like whipping along and turning them as fast as you can, because it speeds up the action, the way he draws it, the way he lays out the panels. It's like hyper fast.
Yeah. And that's something we can also talk about, is like how the size of the panel itself will affect pacing, because these are all, you know, we talk about for the 6 panel pages kind of being the standard, but these are also bigger panels, but so you don't, you know, you don't have as many things for eye to dot across. So if you're having bigger panels like this, you're going to increase the speed or the pace at which the story is absorbed.
Yep.
which matches the pace of the scene unfolding, because it is a literal snapshot moment of, you know, a guy pulls up a jacket, a gun goes off, a chair gets thrown, and he goes out the other side of the building. Like, that's realistically probably in the narrative on a matter of seconds. And so having fewer larger panels, you're creating you're reflecting that momentum, that speed in the story.
Yeah, it's right. It's almost like you're doing slow motion in a film to capture everything.
Yeah. I kind of want to also, something we just talked, like, kind of hitting on what we've been hitting on as well, is that each of these panels doesn't have superfluous moment, right? It's all the important stuff. It's everything that you need to see to understand what's happening, and nothing more, nothing less. Also, I love this little pop out here.
I mean, Cesar again is a working professional who's been at this for many, many years. And I mean, it's one thing for me to write the script, but I don't do any of this layout. I don't set up the stuff, you know, where the panels go, what the size of the panels are. All right. I mean, that's all him. And again, it's that, what I call, you know, it's the magic. It's the fun of why we do comics. I mean, I could sit down and write this in a novel and write it, you know, in prose, but it's way more exciting to put it down on paper and then give it to him and see what, you know, pops up. And I just absolutely love it. All right. I mean, he's doing such a great job with this series. It's amazing. And the other thing, there are clues in this. I mean, you're seeing the pages before they were lettered. Mike Belcher ended up lettering them with sound effects and whatever. But there's small clues in even this sequence about Dyer that you pick up without realizing it. And that's the fact that this slim, beautiful young Russian woman picked up this chair and threw it like it was made out of, you know, balsa wood or something, with absolutely no grief at all. Well, ultimately, as the story develops, we come to find out that she's an enhanced human being who's a little stronger than the average person.
Just like Tim.
What's that?
Just like Tim.
There you go.
I know. I pack my weight in weird ways. Yeah, I think that's. I kind of lost it there.
Sorry.
I can ask Dave, what do you think of the coloring on these pages?
Well, I'm looking at this other one, and I'm really liking that blast in the second panel. Yeah, they're just kind of different. Got a cat jumping on. Yeah, they're interesting. You got the purple. You got the
the color
of the background and
was Matt Webb. Matt's worked for practically everybody. He's worked for Marvel, DC, and we were really lucky to get him on board with this project.
All right, I kind of want to hit on something actually. It hits on similar concepts, but on the other end of the spectrum, and it's actually a book that I think Dave turned me on to, and I think it's really interesting. So these are two more heavily paneled pages, but they don't feel busy. And I think what's really interesting is the way that they've done it. I think this is something like what Ron was saying, is that it's a lot of it, I feel like, comes subconsciously, where the size of the panels themselves match the pacing or the beat that they would receive if it was filmed on camera, right?
Yep.
And so it's this really interesting mix of slow beat, fast beat, cut shot, things like that. But it was all, and everything's always hitting like, this is an important detail. This is an important detail. Here's the path for those details. This is an important detail. And you're not seeing a whole lot of movement despite it being a very dynamic page. So this is from Ghost Pepper. So again, these are like very heavily paneled pages, but we have slow beat, fast beat, just to give them details, and the payoff for those beats. We have slow beat, fast beat, and then a payoff to that, a fast beat, and then a payoff to that. There's not a whole lot of hemming and hawing around any points on this, and it's all just serving details that need to be absorbed. But you're doing that through a lot of panels, but you're not losing the art or the lettering in any of that, because it's all just organized on top of each other and stacked in a way that serves the art form and can only be done in a comic. Because again, if you're doing that in a movie, you're losing those things because they're all cuts away from each other. Whereas in a comic, you can sit two payoffs on a detail or sit those two details on the payoff.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is Ludo Lullaby. That's his book. Ironically, he did a single issue for Transformers, which was the kind of the background history of Megatron. So he had a lot of that same style in that issue. So yeah, he is very interesting. I gotta give kudos to him for his work. He has some great work.
Yeah. Little Lullaby and Antonio Lucas on that, and then on Lost Fantasy, Kurt Pyers and Franklin Jonas. Well, it's like there's 50 people working on Lost Fantasy, but those main names. Then unsurprisingly, they're both Image books because they're able to. They were books that are created with the artist's intent and then were packaged and sold to Image. Whereas like my Marvel and DC still get some cool stuff every now and then, but a lot of times it's going to be happening in like the Elseworlds, where like in Absolute you get some really cool panel layouts. But that's also it's the Absolute series where Jim Lee essentially just told Scott Snyder and his friends to go hog wild. But yeah, it's that idea of all these things are you're serving the story by just saying like, here's the detail you need to know. We're not going to show you the things you don't need to know, unless it's doing a moment of, not even in, I don't know if anyone's familiar with Kurosawa, but he has this term, I can't remember what the name of it is, but the idea of showing nothing or a beat where nothing happens, because he uses that to contrast a high impact scene afterwards. Like in Seven Samurai, it's that moment where you just see nothing but rain falling on the village, and then the battle happens the next scene, because it helps you understand the violence. In order to understand the violence, you have to understand the lack of violence and see something up.
It's that
Like
quiet,
even
like you said, the quiet before the storm, quiet before, the calm.
Right.
And so experience, even in comics, you experience that downbeat of the calm and whatnot. It's meant to when the action, when the hotness hits, you know what I mean? You're supposed to be like, right? It's like that same effect, like going from like a minute of breath to like all adrenaline.
Yeah, actually, I had those are some. There you go. It's like on that same page, like they didn't do like a full page thing, but you have the moment right where it's that. Just that moment of silence that turns into bombs being dropped to the next page. But it's that you're still showing something that is important, even though it's not direct action, but you never see anything that isn't important or anything that you don't need to know, right? In this example that we got from Ron as well, it's this moment of there's just a hand hovering over a gun. If you wanted to get really weird with it, you probably could have made this like with like this guy kind of in the background shadow. You could have made this like a full page spread, and that's a moment of silence into 5 panels of snap, snap, snap the next page. Different ways you can play with it. I think the way they did it serves the story very well, but I think also as an artist, you're probably going to be constantly reiterating your layouts in your own head the same way that writers reiterate their scripts in their own head.
I think it's really important when you're writing a script to really, we've talked about this constantly, about making sure that everything in the story is there, all right? That you're acutely aware of where you're placing your characters, like i.e. a script on a stage, all right? So that the artist knows that completely, all right? Which then gives them that freedom. to take that script and say, okay, this is the best way to do this. This is the best way to show this, all right? But that all comes from, again, they're being familiar with the story before they probably even read the script. If, you know, you're working in tandem and this is what's going to happen in this issue. I generally, a lot of times when I write a series, the first page will have like a mini plot outline as a first paragraph before I start doing, you know, page panels of whatever, telling my artist, okay, this is what's going to happen in this issue. This is what we're aiming to get done before we get to page 22, 24, or whatever. And bringing them in on it immediately puts them on the same path that I hope, you know, we're both on as they read the script. And the third sample that I sent you guys, I think bears that out. And it was one of the reasons I wanted to use it tonight, was because a while back I had wanted to work with Mike Belcher on a couple of things. I love the way Mike draws golden age style of comics. All right, he just does it naturally, right? And one time, this is from an idea I had. We were in San Diego one year, my wife and I, and we went to this Italian section of the city. And as we're starting to go into this restaurant to have dinner, we can hear thousands of people cheering. And I turn around and look, and the people with said, oh, and he points to literally the end of the street where there's this giant wall. And he goes, oh, that's the baseball stadium. And I said, excuse me? He says, that's where the Padres play. There's a game going on right now. I mean, it was literally at the end of this street. The street stops, and there's the wall, and the game's going on. You can hear people cheering. All right. So later I had this idea, this wonky idea, right? So what would have happened, say, you know, like in the 50s or whatever, and this beat cop's walking around this little Italian neighborhood right there in San Diego, right? And a robbery takes place. So he goes chasing after the thief into this alley, which abuts the stadium. But he gets ambushed by the thief who's hiding behind a dumpster and knocks him out, and is going to grab his gun and shoot him. But at the exact same time, in the stadium, through this giant cement wall, a game going on, a player is going to hit a home run that will fly over the roof and literally hit the bad guy. A 1 in a million impossible shot. That's the story. That's what I told Mike I wanted to write and for him to draw. And basically what I'm getting at with this whole idea of flow is Mike knew the story before he even got my script. It was in his mind. It was in his head. He read the script and knew what he had to do to make each of those pages work to lead you to the next page, to the next page. And it becomes this mini little story told in just 3 simple pages that we had a blast with.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think kind of also what that kind of alludes to, right, is that we've been talking about is that this whole thing is the panel out, the panel flow really is, I feel like, the sum of comics, because it is the core result that you get of collaboration between writer and artist that you can't get anywhere else in any other medium.
Amen.
It's the idea of the writer has an idea for a narrative and passes on to an artist, and that passes back. And it's really cool because you literally see, if you're a writer, you literally see your ideas take shape. And if you're the artist, you get to materialize just random thoughts out of the ether and make it into something tangible.
Totally. I mean, yeah. What I saw in my head when I actually wrote the script, I mean, is literally nothing like what Mike envisioned and put on paper. And what Mike did is 100% better. It's totally 100% better because he's conscious more so than I as a writer about this visual flow thing that's been our subject all night, okay? I can understand narrative flow, all right? Tim, you and I talk about pacing and slow and fast and the beats of a story. All those things are literate. But it's the artist who has to grasp this idea of I'm going to make this reader's eyes look at this and want to move to the next panel, to the next page. And I mean, the 3 artists we talked about tonight that I showed and what you showed are all gifted storytellers in their own right.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's not to say that as a writer you can't also approach your artist with, you know, an idea, but you have to remember it's a collaboration, so you do it in the spirit of collaboration. Because again, for the most part, I put the script out, I just let the artist do the thing, but there's been a few times where I'm like, I just kind of messaged my artist, I'm like, hey, do you want to do something weird? And 8 times out of 10, they're like, yeah, I want to do something weird. That's why I'm in comics. I want to do something weird.
The answer will almost always be yes.
Oh, always, always. Yeah. I mean,
and so that's what we got.
To me, it's commonplace, and it excites me when an artist gets back to me and goes, you know, I really like page 15, but you need another panel. All right, go for it. Yeah. Or I flip it around. You know, I like page 20, but I think I can incorporate it into 4 pages and give you something really powerful visually. Again, do it. All right. Yeah. I'm not the only one telling this story. All right. You are a co-storyteller with me, but perhaps the most important one because you're the one who's doing it visually. So yeah, if an artist comes to me and says, this is what's going to happen, this is what we can do, this is the impact, and I get that, then 9/10 of the time, I will always say, go for it, and thanks so much for being that invested in the project.
Yeah, it's absolutely. It's always great when you have those conversations like that. I was going to say is like with Wolf Hunter #2, I had the idea where we're telling some characters traumatic stories because, you know, they're caught in the middle of World War II, and it's a spy hunter story, so there's some action and grand fantasy to it all, but it's trying to be as honest as you can by the lived experiences of the people affected by it. And so for a pilot, that's some level of PTSD, and for a Romani, that's the fact that your home has been lost and you're now kind of no longer welcome anywhere. And so we wanted to do some ideas of incorporating not quite flashbacks, but like flash through scenes of like having someone see a memory that isn't really happening at the moment. So we had this moment where I came to my artist, I'm like, what if in the window we do a sepia tone secondary scene of a dogfight happening in this train? And the artist is like, yeah. And the artist is like, that's really French. I'm going to get weird with it. And so, yeah, you do the same. So you collaborate with each other, and you're like, you understand, like, my script, you know, I told the story, but maybe we need some more visual pop there. And I have this idea that I have, and you have your idea that you have. And how can you combine these to make, 22 pages that have never existed before?
Yep.
Yeah. It's to add the weird. I'm just saying. When you like, let's get weird. Yeah, dude. I don't think there's an artist alive that if you've written a story and the artist is working on the story and you come back at them and like, bro, I want to try something real weird. Every artist in the world are going to be like, yes, I don't even know what it is. Just tell me, let's make this happen. Like, we're going to get crazy. Heck yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's like a story that happened with Department of Truth, where when the issues of Department of Truth were doing like a backstory event, James Tinian came to his guys like, what if we did this page as a stained glass window?
Cool.
The artist is like,
there you go.
It's like, I can get high and do that. It's that, but it's the idea of these kind of pass weird ideas to each other. But yeah, I guess we're in our last bits here. Jose, David, do you guys have any other thoughts or things you want to hit on when it comes to panel flow?
Get weird. Let's just ride that one out. Get weird. Enjoy it. Even if you do things traditionally, and like I said, I like to do things, keep things traditional. You can still get a little crazy with it. You know what I mean? You can still. You had mentioned way in the beginning of the show about panel breaks. Panel breaks is the easiest way to make a character pop forward in a panel, and it allows for the reader to basically like inject themselves into the story because they're basically standing right there. It's almost like talking to the fourth wall without talking to the fourth wall, right? But remember, even if you're traditional, even if you're weird, even if you know what I mean, you don't believe in traditional paneling, understand narrative flow, understand the chutes and ladders, understand the direction of the way paneling goes, understand pacing. You guys have mentioned that before. Even from an artistic point of view, if I see something that like it looks like it's supposed to be moving fast, but there's like far and few between, or like there's not even too many panels, you know what I mean, I'll ask, hey, can I streamline this down a little bit? Can I add these two together? Because it would flow a lot better, right? Yep. But like you said, we've said this a million times on our shows. It's a collaborative effort. It's working together. It's we call an artistic team for a reason. We're a team. We're working together, and it's not one person does their part and pass it along. There should be communication. I enjoy communication. You know what I mean? If you don't like something I did, let me know. I can go back and fix it. I can do something. You know what I mean? If you like something,
it's what makes it work.
Yeah.
And I appreciate even the small things. I mean, the sketches that were put together to show the topic of tonight's show, show those comic pages with the sketches Z through them, right? As as they mentioned again, right to left down, right to left down. I can remember, a long time ago working with an artist in New Hampshire, Rich Woodall, and Rich is the first guy who showed me that. We were talking about creating comics, and he started explaining the flow, and he looked at me and said, well, it's a Z right on the page. And I didn't, okay? And the minute he drew that, did a little sketch, and I went, for sure, okay? That Z, that's what comics are all about, all right?
Talking about however you want to look at it. But yeah, it's exact.
Yeah. Course,
it is for Western comics. You got to preface that.
If you get a copy, a friend of yours from Japan sends you a manga, and then it's all backwards.
Right.
Yeah, like this is a really good page. Very literal. You can see where the eye gets drawn across the entire thing.
Yeah. That is classic and traditional techniques. That is.
Yep.
The reader doesn't necessarily know why they're flowing, other than that's the traditional doing it, but subliminally the imaging and the drawings are angling your eye in a direction, and that's I think that's the magic of doing narrative art. Directing the eye.
Or even this one here, it's like you can even do it it's multiple Z's that are happening across the whole thing, right?
Yep.
Yeah, because that last panel on the second row is angled. Like the heads are angled. Instead of the eyes angling and whatnot, directing you, the body position is.
Just magic. Just comic book magic, people. Just amazing.
I love this medium we do. I truly do. I love working on comics. Ron said that like a million times. You know what I mean? Like, I love working on comics. I do. I agree completely. I love working on comics. It is like you will do a page and you will be so proud of yourself. You're gonna go get a bowl of ice cream, and then there are days that you just want to throw the ice cream against the wall because things are not lining up correctly.
Oh yeah, I mean, write it. You run into a wall, or you run into a plot problem or something. Okay, they're all challenges to be met. We should wrap this episode up with. Did you guys do any free comic book day activities this past Saturday?
I built my roof to my chicken coop.
Okay.
I actually didn't even remember it was free comic book day. I think someone mentioned to me, and then it wasn't until like the day before, and I'm like, like I should have been on it and planned. Like every year before this, after art school, I always hit my local shops like, hey, do you want me to come in and do sketch cards for kids and stuff like that? Like he goes, yeah, how much do you want me to pay you? I was like, pay me? Like, what are you talking about? I just want to come and do sketch cards for kids.
There you go.
Like, we're good. Like, buy me a drink and a pizza or something. I don't care.
Yeah.
But
I mean, ever since we moved to Fort Collins, I spend every free comic book day at the local comic shop with a couple of other local artists and writers from here and surrounding areas. And we were there when they opened the doors at 10 o'clock, had our tables set up and everything, right? And the fans come in. I think they had like over 2,000 fans went through that shop in one day from 10 to 5, right? And so doing it every year and folks getting to know that I'm local, I'm, a citizen here in town and whatever, right? Get the chat, to see them once a year, talk again. And they looking at the table and, okay, hey, what's new, Ron? And that's the other challenge of hopefully always having something new they haven't seen yet, right? And I mean, literally within the first 20 minutes of the event starting, I had one guy walk up to my table who I didn't recognize and just literally walked up to my table, looked down at the stuff on the table and pointed to Crimson Nun #1 and went, I bought this from you last year, right? Independent Comics, right? Last year, whole year, right? And he goes, I loved it. It was awesome. Then his eyes wide up. He goes, is that #2? I said, yes, it is. Picks up #2. I autographed it for him. I said, come back next year. I should have 3 ready for you.
Nice. Oh, I ended up just running errands, but TJ, who owns our shop, I have a large pull box too. So he said, like, when Wolfhunter is ready to go to trade and we can get like a barcode on the front, come in, we'll get set up. But he's like, every comic book day coming in, I'll see you on Wednesday because I'm not checking out your box when I have at the door.
Yep, that's the fun. You get to meet, other fans and people who love the stuff as much as we do.
That's why I love doing conventions.
Oh yeah, I mean, I every now and then we've talked about this. Every now and then I've been at a convention or a signing or whatever, right? People like us say, you want me to sign it for you? Somebody's buying one of my comics, and I'll get this like, well, how much for the autograph? And I'm like, no way. Okay, please. Okay. The only reason I'm sitting behind this desk is because of you people. Mm-hmm. All right. That's ridiculous. I'm never going to charge anybody for an autograph. All right. I owe them the career I've had.
Right.
So, yeah.
I had a guy, my comic shop called me. I was like, Jose, you need to come down now. You need to get over here now. I'm like, okay, everything all right? He's like, yeah, bro, I found something cool. I'm like, he goes, but you have to come now. Like, the guy's here. You have to come now. I'm like, all right. So I hopped in the car. I raced over there. I was like, what's going on? Somebody came and brought a box of comics, not a long box or anything, like just a straight box of comics, and was selling them to the shop. And so my shopkeeper went through them, to see if there's anything he wanted. And I get there and he pulls up this comic. It was my first self-published comic book.
Whoa, there you go. All right.
Oh, dude, like, I don't even think I have any more of those. I might have one left, and it's not in the best condition.
Oh, that's always the coolest thing in the world. Oh yeah.
He was like, bro, I just bought this box from this person because I saw this book in here with you on it. Like, will you sign it for me? So I autographed it. I was like, I'm keeping that. I was like, yeah, I'm telling you, I don't think I have any more of those. Like, again, I might have one beat up copy in my box. So, like you said, it's the fans. It's the fans
are absolutely amazing. They really are. Yeah.
But that was pretty cool.
Oh, I got an email from a Swedish fan of the Popeye comic book that I did with Ben Dunn like ages ago, right? And he was looking to see if there was any pages of art that he could get his hands on because he wanted to reprint it in Sweden.
Oh, no way.
Oh,
for truth, right? Unfortunately, he'd gone to Ben. Ben gave him my email. I don't know. Ben thought for some reason I'd have copies of those pages, but Ben had always kept the pages himself, and apparently doesn't have them anymore. So he must have sold them over the years,
Oh.
But this guy was actually going to get them, colored and, because they're in black and white, and going to color and do a Swedish version of the Popeye story. What the heck?
Dude, that would have been cool. Like,
I think so.
One of my favorite things, and someday that I would love to find a comic book I've worked on in another language. But one of the things I'm working on, like just started recently in last year. I say recently, but last year, we went to Greece for my daughter's graduation as a present for her graduation. And my only goal, like my wife was, we're gonna go here, we're gonna go here, we're gonna go here. Like, I want to go to a comic shop. I just want to go to a comic shop. She's like, why? It's like, because I want to pick up a comic shop or a comic book. I don't even care what it is. I don't care if it's something I collect in Greek.
Nice.
I sure did. I picked up a Captain America Daredevil story in Greek. It's so awesome. And then I picked up, what was it? It was a trade paperback, but it was in Greek, and it was my local comic shop's favorite comic book story, right? It was a Marvel story, but it was his favorite story in Greek. I bought it in Greek, and I gave it to him as a gift. And so I went to the shop and said, hey, do you have that trade? And gosh, I can't remember what it was. He's like, yeah, like, give me a minute. So he opened up his filing cabinet and pulled it out. I was like, yeah. I was like, check this out. And I gave it to him. He's like, holy crap, like page for page, it's exactly alike, except for all the dialogue is a different language. Now I want to collect comics in every foreign language I can.
Heck yeah, dude.
I almost had a chance to go to Israel, and I was going to make that happen in Israel too, but our trip ended up getting canceled.
Too cool. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
all right.
Wax Poetic there. I don't know if you have any closing thoughts for us, Dave, before we say goodbye.
No, I was just going to say that a lot of the panel and the flow depends on the book and can define the book. It can either be based on the feeling, or it can define how the book is. I mean, a good example of that is look at The Dark Knight Returns. Look at all those panels. Those panels with the newscaster and all that stuff. If that was a traditional 6-panel, it wouldn't have the same impact. And I've seen before ones that go through and will try to fit, like, 2 huge paragraphs of dialogue in like one panel and all that. So definitely can be affected by what you want to do. I mean, I don't know anybody that really enjoys the whole 2 paragraphs in one panel type thing. Just
every Sandman fan, what are you talking about?
But then I was also looking at some of the stylized pages, like some of the stuff like Mike Grell's stuff, and some of the Swamp Thing books and stuff like that. So you've got specific styles of trying to tell stories too. So it all depends on what you want for it, and you can make it work. You can make things that I'm sure when Frank Miller thought or pitched the idea of all those panels, the newscaster, that somebody went, what? But he pulled it off, and he made it iconic for that book. So you can make things work if you do it correctly, and the key is to do it correctly. So
yeah.
Again, the goal is the story. The goal is always the story.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we hope you all have a good night or good morning, or whenever time you're listening to this. We'll be back next week. Make sure to check out Wednesday Wham and Silver Sunday on their respective times, on their respective days. And check out the rest of the Madness Comics Network, and get your tickets for All of Heroes.
HeroCon.
Yes. Next week, we'll be talking about the best tools for making comics in 2026. So we'll be hitting on not just digital tools, but also physical tools, because believe it or not, pen companies are still coming out with new types of pens and things like that.
And they're awesome.
Yes. So we'll be talking about inking tools as well as writing tools. I don't know if you're using a typewriter, but you can.
Dude,
But we talked about.
I have a lot of art tools. It's going to be a fun.
I've got some ideas on that front. We'll discuss. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we'll be getting into all that next week, and also I'm interested to see David's array of coloring devices. But until that time,
hey,
make mine.
Silverline.
Happy.
Hey heroes, cosplayers, and pop culture fans, are you ready to assemble for the ultimate geek weekend? The Hall of Heroes Comic-Con is invading Elkhart, Indiana with 2 explosive days of comics, stars, and non-stop fun. Join us Saturday, May 30th and Sunday, May 31st, 2026 at the Northern Indiana Event Center in Elkhart. Doors open at 10 a.m. both days. VIP early entry at 9:30 a.m. on Saturday. We're rolling out a massive lineup of legends. Meet Eric Estrada from Chips and Fallout, Dirk Benedict from the A-Team and Battlestar Galactica, Tara Reid from American Pie and Sharknado, Catherine Cavagini, voice of Blossom from the Powerpuff Girls, Kel Mitchell from All That, Kevin and Kel and Mystery Men, horror icon Tony Moran, the original Michael Myers in Halloween, and more. Plus, top comic artists including Arthur Sidem, Marvel Zombies and Deadpool, John Kramer from Batman and Wonder Woman, Keith Pollard, a legendary Marvel artist on Spider-Man and Thor, and more. Scott Rosama, Stuart Sager, and others. Get autographs, photo ops, and chats with the stars and creators who shaped your favorites. The floor is packed with over 150 vendors, artists, and cosplayers offering exclusive comics, collectibles, original art, and merch. Enjoy cosplay contests for kids and adults with great prizes, live Q&A panels, artist showcases, interactive zones, and family-friendly fun all weekend. And the excitement goes live. Madness Entertainment Group is broadcasting straight from the con floor all weekend on YouTube, Build, and Rumble. Catch every moment as it happens, then relive it anytime with the full shows available later on Med TV on Roku. Grab your tickets today at hohcomiccon.org. Hall of Heroes Comic-Con, May 30th and 31st, 2026. Northern Indiana Event Center, Elkhart, Indiana. We'll see you there, heroes. This ad was created by Nim on behalf of Madness Entertainment Group and Hall of Heroes Comic-Con.
Hi, I'm John Beatty. Make mine Silverline.